Hi there, this is Chris from AllstyleGuitar.com, and in this part of the course we're just going to be talking about the left hand or the fretting hand for playing guitar. And there are many different approaches to this, but there are some general things that a lot of guitarists and teachers agree on, and I'm going to cover those in this video. So to get started, we need to just sort of start from, well, our neck and our shoulder really, because you want to make sure when you play guitar that the guitar is held in a efficient or comfortable manner. So as you see here, my classical guitar is roughly at a 45-degree angle here. And if you're an electric guitarist, you might have a strap, you might be using a strap, and you want the headstock to be a little bit tilted. Why do we want this? We want this because we want our left hand, or our fretting hand, to be able to travel all over the neck on the guitar, even if you're playing very, very high up here. So just to demonstrate this, imagine if our guitar was low like this, and you had to play guitar all over. It just wouldn't really work because, yeah, you can play, you can do some things, but it's very difficult. Like, can you imagine playing fast like this? It's not the most efficient thing. So placement of your guitar is very important. So make sure that the guitar is at an angle so that your left hand can move up and down the fretboard easily. Now, if you're an acoustic guitarist, chances are you're probably playing with your legs crossed or something like that. And this is completely fine. You still want the neck to be at a minimum more or less parallel so that your fretting hand can move up and down the fretboard. If you're playing fingerstyle guitar, for example, or if that's your goal, you just want to make sure that your hand can move up and down the fretboard as easily as possible. You're going to hear me repeat this a lot because if you're not holding the guitar properly, you're going to make your life a lot more difficult. So now, back to a normal, just proper positioning or healthy positioning. I like to use the word healthy because it reinforces more of, we don't want to hurt ourselves when playing guitar. You might have heard of tendinitis or focal dystonia or some other form where guitars hurt themselves. You yourself might have experienced some pain in your playing technique. So it's very likely that we're going to cover some of the things that go into that in this lesson. So now, I'll talk about positioning, a couple other things, the left hand, the fretting hand. So let's just actually start putting our hand on the guitar. So like I said before, we want to start with our arm. I usually tell everyone to just let their arm relax and to sort of focus on how the hand comes out. And if you notice, if you bring it out, you have this natural kind of, you can call it a C shape, you can call it a curve in the fingers, whatever it is you want to call it. You just want to make sure that it feels comfortable and light and that you're not forcing your hand to do anything out of the ordinary. So you kind of want to take this position and you want to put your fretting hand on the guitar and you want to make sure your fingers have a nice curve in them. This is going to allow your fingers to move all over the place easily and allow it to play each specific fret with ease. Because, for example, if your thumb is too high, and this is the same for electric, acoustic, or classical guitar, if your thumb is too high, you have this really strange bend in your hand. I'm exaggerating here, but I have seen this before, so you have to be careful about this. And if your finger's too low, you're going to be way off the neck over here. What you want is exactly this. You want your thumb to be roughly behind the neck, in the middle-ish, and you want your fingers to have that nice curve that we have right here. So once again, you want to have this nice curve in the fingers and the thumb behind the neck. And the thumb, be careful with the thumb, okay? A lot of guitarists don't talk about this, but some guitarists, they have their thumb way out here. That's not good for the wrist, and you're making your hand work much harder. And if you have it over the neck, we already discussed that. The wrist is very out of place there. But if your finger is very much to the right, you're going to end up with this strange hand position here where your fingers are off the neck, and that's not what we want. We want our fingers to be able to fly around the neck comfortably. So you have to experiment because we all have different anatomies, and you could be playing electric, acoustic, or classical, but you want to experiment to find the best positioning for you so that your fingers can move across the fretboard, so that you have a nice curve in your fingers, and that the thumb can just relax behind the guitar. And because this video is specifically about the left hand positioning, or the fretting hand positioning, we're not going to go into too many other details. We're going to focus on being able to play the guitar in a healthy way. So now, we have our thumb behind the neck, we have our fingers in a nice curve, and then we can move up and down the neck. So what's next? So let's say we are playing on the low E string, the lowest string. And one thing here is that when we're moving, you do not want the fingers to move and the thumb to just stay in one place. You're going to end up with very strange positioning, and it's not going to be the best for your hand. You want your thumb, the left-hand thumb, to sort of follow what your hand is doing. So for example, if we're playing the low string again, my thumb is a little bit higher behind the neck. And if I'm playing much higher on the neck in regards to playing on the high string, high sounding string right here, my thumb has actually moved down on the neck more towards the floor and adjusted so that my fingers still keep that same curvature in them. Okay? So I still have this nice curve no matter where I am on the neck. Here, my thumb is a little bit lower. You can see it there. Still have that nice curve. And if it's higher on the fretboard, you still have that nice curve. So you really want to maintain this curve in your fingers because it will help you play all over the guitar without any issues. And I promise you, if you do this, it'll be much easier to play certain things that might have been giving you trouble before, because here are some of the things that I see very often. I see guitarists that tilt too much in one direction. So the pinky here, for example, is having a much harder time getting to the strings than the index finger, for example. Or someone's thumb is much further out here in this direction, and their hand shape is a little bit messed up. Or let's say that if your thumb is very high behind the neck here, you have a little bit of a odd wrist here, which is very much at an angle. You really want to avoid these. You really want your wrist to be in a relaxed, straight way when playing guitar, your fingers to be curved, and your arm to have a little bit of freedom of movement. Because, for example, let's say my elbow stays here, and I'm trying to play higher on the guitar. Look how my hand position, it gets very spread out and you can't really control your fingers. You want to make sure the arm can freely move along with the body. And this is the same if you're playing electric, acoustic, or classical guitar. I keep repeating this because it's very important. If you're an electric guitarist, make sure that you have your guitar at an angle. That way you can freely move your left hand up and down the neck. So that is some of the general things that you really need to know for placement of the fretting hand. I keep referring to the left hand, but I'm not forgetting all the lefty guitarists out there, so that's why I'm going to keep calling it the fretting hand. Okay, so once again, just to summarize very quickly, let the arm just sort of relax and be free no matter how you're holding the guitar. Make sure that your hand can move up and down the fretboard, whether you're at an angle or whether you're playing in more of an acoustic guitar style like this. You have to make sure that you can move up and down the fretboard, because if not, you're probably going to develop some sort of hand injury much down the line. Of course, it does not happen overnight, but there are many guitarists that I've talked to that say, oh, I have this pressure here, or my hand hurts, or something like that, and that's what we want to avoid. So stay tuned for the next video, but this one was specifically only for the left hand and positioning. All right, bye-bye.